So when building a resin kit, I usually take the parts out and assess how I'm going to attack and build this thing. So what I normally do typically is I'll take my Dremel and I'll start looking at the parts and seeing what fits together well and sand them so they can fit properly for later for gluing and putty work. As you can see here, that's what I'm doing. Also, it's nice to have a utility knife to dig out some of the gunk, and cutting into the resin is pretty fairly easy with a sharp scalpel. And then afterwards, I'll typically get everything ready for some soap and water, because a lot of times resin kits will have like a residue, an oil residue from the casting process, and primer and paint won't stick to it well. So warm water and soap, and I usually take like an old toothbrush or a nylon brush and scrub it. Dawn dish soap works great. That's what I've always used. As you can see here, I'm just scrubbing away and I'll rinse. Typically after you're done with this, I'll let it dry for a day, or sometimes if I'm in a rush, I'll take my air compressor and blast dry it. Just depends how soon you want to get on the kit. Afterwards, when it's dry, I will take the parts and apply this primer, Rust-Oleum's primer, a flat gray. I think they also make a black one, but the gray works well if you plan to do traditional like Godzilla colors, which is like, you know, charcoal, like a dark charcoal. So it works fairly well for me. John Lagrandzilla is who recommended this paint, or this primer. So his videos really inspired me to make this one. After the primer, I'll usually take my airbrush kit and start applying the base coat. I like to use the airbrush for the bigger pieces, and then a lot of times for the finer detail work with acrylics, I'll take a smaller brush and, you know, do it by hand instead of the airbrush gun. But it's great for doing big areas. It's also really cool for blending and doing like diorama based work. They're great tools, and it's just something fun to play with. It's not a necessity for making or painting a resin kit, but it makes it more enjoyable, I think. I got this magnifying glass for doing eyeballs, essentially, and some of this finer detail work with the acrylics. My eyes suck, so this really helps. I recommend it if you have problems. The next step after this, I will assess how I'm going to continue building and painting this. So like I'll do things in sections, and I like to use Gorilla Glue Super Gel. It works great. It's very strong when it cures, and that combined with putty work, this 2-part epoxy right here, as you can see, you use equal parts of that, and you mix it around for about 2 minutes, and it sets in like 5, and then you can start using it. And you don't have to have those sculpting tools, but you can get them at like a Hobby Lobby, and it just makes it easier for getting into those tough spots to fill in the seams, because that's what you essentially want to do with this epoxy putty, is get in there and blend the seams and try to make it look like his natural skin tone. And then you'll go back over it with your acrylics. You can paint over it while it's still curing. After you get all that stuff done, typically I'll start with some oil washes, and I like to use burnt umber oil for like a dirty, earthy look on his body, or on his nails, to make them dirty, and his teeth, as you can see here. And I'll apply all this, and then I'll wait usually a day, maybe 2 after it dries, to go on to the next step, which would be more assembly and a little bit more painting and dry brushing, essentially. Next step is dry brushing, and that's where you take some oil paint and an old brush or a brush meant for dry brushing, and you're going to basically essentially take everything off the brush for the most part on your paper towel over there, and then you're lightly going to hit all the edges, and it'll bring out more detail and shadowing across your paint job. And then one of the final steps is, once you get everything the way you want it, you're going to hit it with some Testors Dull Coat. You don't have to use Testors, there's many others, but this is what I use. And it's going to help protect the paint and seal it in. And then after this step, usually I wait a day, maybe 2, and I'll start to get Godzilla ready for the gloss and varnish. And I use this Pledge gloss to do his eyes and his mouth, essentially. John Lagrandzilla is who recommended this gloss for his eyes and mouth. He uses, I think it was Magical or something like that. It's the same as the current Pledge, they just changed their name. And then for the varnish, I use this Liquid X gloss medium and matte medium, and I do equal parts of both and mix them together and put on his nails and his claws, and it'll make it have that realistic nail finish when it cures. And then that's pretty much how to do a resin kit. So I had gotten this kit from my good friend John Heyman, and this kit is sculpted by Min Tao. I think I pronounced that right, I'm not sure. This kit looks heavily influenced from Gemstone. I can't officially say if it is or isn't, but to me it looks pretty much dead on like Gemstone. So with that in mind, I had decided to do a similar scheme to that fan-made film, and it came with a pretty cool base. We decided to do like a nightlife, like Japanese colors, dark red and gold, and make the diorama seem like it was a scene at night. I decided to go in the cracks with like a mud or dirt or earth, with the concrete being cracked. I was thinking of doing lava, but I decided to do this instead. I kind of tried to make the buildings seem like they still had power or lights were on. I'm not sure. I haven't done many dioramas, so I heavily focused on Godzilla. But overall, I'm very happy with how this kit turned out. I think he looks pretty cool. He's got an evil mug for sure. Anyways, thanks for watching my video. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.